Hi, everybody. This is a video on how to land a TED Talk. So, this is from my perspective as a person who has done the thing, given a TED Talk in the past. My name's Mackenzie Finkley. You may have seen me featured in other videos on this channel. I specialize in nonfiction works, but I am currently in progress on a fiction book, so fixin' to be a double threat. But my first book was Beyond the Halls: An Insider's Guide to Museums, which is about museums, cultural studies, anthropology. So I specialize in displays of human culture. That's what I got my degree in. And so when you go and look online and look at my TED Talk, which you inevitably will, you'll notice that it's not about museums. It's about internet memes. Super fun. So that's a display of human culture. I did this super long research paper about internet memes and then turned it into a TED Talk, which I then gave at my university. Super cool stuff. And there is my Instagram handle if you want to connect in that way. I'm happy to connect and answer more questions. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or reach out to me. So in this video, I'm going to go over a few things. I'm going to go over being thoughtful about your ambitions, asking yourself questions like why you want to give a TED Talk, what do you want to give a TED Talk about, the key difference between a TED and a TEDx talk. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to say TED Talk for all of them, but I will go over the differences. Defining your audience, really key and will really help you build out your TED Talk. Finding TEDx events to apply to and be a speaker at. Organizing your talk and outlining your talk. We will talk about those things as well, and I will be using the word talk a lot in this video. And then I will also be providing you with a free resource, which will also be linked down below, in how to do your own TED Talk outline. So, being thoughtful, asking yourself, why do you want to give a TED Talk? What is your big idea? What is your big idea worth spreading? That's the slogan of TED, is ideas worth spreading, and it's a nonprofit. And you really want to think about what it is you have to offer within that context. What is your idea that's going to make an impact on the thousands of people that will watch your video once your TED Talk is posted up on the internet? Now, if the answer to this question for you is for the clout, for the fame, for exposure, that is a perfectly fine answer. In fact, that's a great answer because the other thing too is that TED Talks really do a lot of powerful things for creating new opportunities for people, getting you more opportunities for more speaking engagements, and opening doors in many other ways as well. I can speak from personal experience on that one. And if you have further questions, do feel free to reach out and I can talk about those endlessly. So, what's the difference between a TED and a TEDx event? Well, both of these events are run by the same TED organization, the overarching nonprofit. A TED event is put on by the organization itself. It happens twice a year, historically in person, and in international locations. Now, a TEDx event is an independently organized event where an event space might license from TED their branding and all kinds of educational materials in order to put on their own TED conference, just like the one that TED puts on every year, except independently in locations all over the world, hundreds of times a year. Now, in both of these events, speakers will give carefully prepared talks, demonstrations, performances, and the like. And the purpose is ultimately to spark conversation, foster learning, inspiration, and wonder. So, ideas worth spreading. To dial in on the key differences between the two, you're also going to need to think about how you land both of these things. And the course to the stage is different. For a TED Talk, there is a nomination form on the TED website that anyone can fill out, including you. In fact, I recommend you nominate yourself. And if you want to have your friends or colleagues nominate you, that is also perfectly fine, even better in many ways. But at the same time, do not overload the system. Do not have a bunch of people nominate you, hundreds of times over. One is plenty. The judges go through all of these applications, and if your name comes up a bunch of times, I've read that can hurt your chances, but you never know. But do also please be aware that you're competing against hundreds, if not thousands, of other applicants with credentials just as great as yours, and for an event that happens once or twice a year. So, enormous audience, broad range of topics, Really great thing. Now, don't let any of that scare you from nominating yourself. Absolutely go for it. We're going to go through how to outline your talk and prepare an application, all that good stuff. Now, TEDx talk, very similar application to the nomination form. Most TEDx talks, since they're all independently organized, they're going to have different ways in which they ask you to apply to be a speaker. But across the board, the applications are largely the same. Now, TEDx Talks, hundreds of them happen a year across all different cities, institutions, from universities to niche groups, and the applications are open. All of these events happen at different times a year. So in any given month, there could be hundreds of different events that are happening. Lots of opportunities, smaller audiences, but your TED Talk will still be recorded and posted to the TEDx YouTube channel, which has a great number of subscribers. So, this also gives you the opportunity for really niche topics, which is really great for your big idea, and a greater chance of booking. So, when you think about writing and developing and giving a TED Talk, it's important to think about your audience, who you're giving that talk to. Now, since TED is a globally recognized brand, your audience is going to be pretty broad, pretty general for the most part. But when you do a TEDx talk, your audience might be more niche depending on where you're giving it. For example, I gave my TEDx talk at the TEDx UT Austin event, and my audience was largely UT Austin students, alumni, and faculty. So think about that when writing your talk. The other thing, too, that you'll want to keep an eye on for TEDx events is that recurring annual events at different places will often pick different themes for each year that they do it. And this might affect the application and the ideas that relate to the themes and the kinds of speakers that they're looking for. So keep an eye on that. Don't be discouraged, but especially if your talk aligns well with their theme, that increases your chances of being booked. Ultimately, the question that you want to ask yourself is, who do you most want to impact? Who needs to hear your big idea the most? And that will help you develop your talk. Now, finding TEDx events. Like I said, there are hundreds. They're not hiding. They're not hard to find, I promise. They are abundant, even in these uncertain times, which is a phrase I'm sure you're tired of hearing. I shouldn't have said it. But there are still hundreds of global listings on the TEDx.com website. So what you'll want to do is go to TEDx.com, hit attend, and hit TEDx events. And what this will take you to is a page with a map and little pins of all the global events happening that are planned. So it could be in the next year, it could be in the next 18 months or so, but as long as they're planned, they should be on that map. If you click on one of the events, hopefully, it will take you to a website where you can find an application. In many cases, you'll click on an event and it'll give you information, and it is possible that that information might not be correct. So what you're going to want to do is, once you find an event that you're interested in applying for, go to your search engine and plug in the name of that event. And most events will have either a Facebook page or their own website set up with all the information for that specific event. For example, TEDx by HBU, Houston Baptist University, which is one that's near me. I will put that in my search engine, and then right away their website comes up, and in the top right-hand corner it says apply to be a speaker. Very easy to find. Very readily available application. Any of that relevant information does not appear, TEDx.com does do a really great job of listing the event organizers, their names, and how to contact them. So in that case, you can contact those people directly and ask how you can apply to be a speaker. Don't be shy. Now, organizing your talk, very important piece. Ask yourself the following questions. One, what are the three main takeaways from your book or your big idea? So this is specifically directed at authors, this question, when I say book, because those are the primary people that I work with and we talk to on this channel. But if you're not an author and you just want to give a TED Talk, what are the three main takeaways from your big idea? Because that's what you're going to want to leave people with. And then the purpose. This is almost like what's the most important takeaway, but if you were teaching a course on your book or big idea, what's the one thing that you would want people to learn? And a lot of times people just want that one thing. They don't want to watch the whole 10-minute video. And that's how you end up naming your TED Talk. You can name your TED Talk after the one thing you want people to learn. That gets them to click and watch. So then there's the flesh in it as well. What are the 2 to 4 best stories or scenes from your book? So these can be stories that exemplify the big idea that you're trying to get across. And then, do these topics have real world implications? Are they related to current events, culture? These will help you formulate your talk. So, outlining your talk. Just like any great story, a TED Talk has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You're going to want to start with the current state of the world. Where are we at? What is the current state of things as they stand? What does everyone believe? Now, then you go and say what you believe, what you are setting out to set the record straight on. What is your big idea? And kick that off with the inciting incident. And then you get to the middle and you want to say, here is how you can make the change that I am looking to implement. Here is how you can act on this big idea. And here are examples and stories of people who have done it, because people are far more likely to take action if they've seen someone else do it. That's just the truth. But stories really help people visualize and successfully emulate the idea that you're trying to get across. And then to end, you're going to remind people of their action items, what they can do to make a change. You're going to talk about hope, positivity, the possibilities if change occurs, get people excited about, hey, if we implement this big idea that I have, what kind of world could we be living in? How would your life be better? And then even throw in, kind of along those lines, a global application. So now, time for you to write your own TED Talk. The TED Talk document is provided for you down below in the description, and this document will help you start to brainstorm your talk or talks. You could do multiple TED Talks about all 3 of your different primary ideas. You could do different talks and arrange them in different ways for all the various places that you'll be giving your talk. You can use this TED Talk outline to create a keynote speech for an event that isn't necessarily affiliated with TED. This worksheet will help you prepare answers to potential questions that audience members might have if given the opportunity. But more importantly, it will help you prepare answers to potential application questions and make that part that much easier. So once again, every TEDx application might be slightly different, but it generally asks the same questions. Why do you want to give a TED Talk? What's a rough outline of the entire talk? And then what's the primary thing that it's about? Not necessarily in that order. So if you want to connect with me and ask me more questions about my personal experience and my recommendations for how to land a TED Talk, you can email me at mtfinkley@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram, send me a message, or reach out at any of the links below.